Middleman. Middleman.
Hello and welcome to yet another powerful, insightful, and ground-shaking episode of The Middleman. Without wasting a single moment, let me introduce my fellow jurors. I have Juror Emeka Madunagu joining us from Abuja in Nigeria, and his case is titled Insecurity as a Deliberate Negligence. He will be addressing how the roads have been left in terrible condition and what he believes should be done. I also have the juror from Juror Evans Ufeli, who is joining us from Toronto in Canada, and he will be discussing the recent altercation between Minister Nyesom Wike and a military officer in his case titled Nigerians and Their Captors. While I, Juror Henry Igwebuike, will be examining Tanzania's leadership paradox, exploring whether their decision to elect a female leader has yielded better results or made things worse, in my case titled When Power Transcends Gender, Tanzania's Leadership Paradox. All these wonderful cases when we return. Don't go anywhere.
Middleman. Middleman.
Thank you for joining us. And this is my case. When Power Transcends Gender, Tanzania's Leadership Paradox. For decades, political analysts and citizens alike have speculated that electing women to the highest office could transform leadership styles with less corruption, more empathy, and greater inclusivity. Tanzania, under its female president, seemed poised to test the theory. Yet, contrary to expectations, her tenure has revealed a governance style marked by authoritarian tendencies, centralized decision-making, and stringent control over dissent. Critics note restrictions on press freedoms, suppression of opposition voices, and a tightening grip on civil society. This apparent paradox raises a profound question. Psychologists and political scientists often point to the power effect. Authority can amplify traits of control, dominance, and risk aversion, regardless of gender. Leaders, male or female, confront immense pressure to consolidate power, maintain loyalty among political elites, and safeguard national stability. In such environment, a female leader may overcompensate, seeking to demonstrate strength and legitimacy in a male-dominated political landscape. Cultural expectations and historical narratives about authority may also shape her behavior, reinforcing a perception that softness or compromise is weakness. Now, this is my verdict. The Tanzania's case underscores a hard truth. Leadership quality is not inherently tied to gender. While women may bring unique perspectives to governance, the structures, pressure, and temptations of power often mold behavior in similar ways across gender. True reform requires systemic change, checks and balances, transparent institutions, and civic engagement, not the mere election of a female leader. Gender alone is not a shortcut to ethical or effective governance. Let's get talking, jurors.
Well, they say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You can never know the true state of a man or the true nature of a man until you give him power. Man in generic sense here, male or female. When this woman assumed authority, there was a sign of relief that the country has gotten it right after a very long time, okay? And that as such is going to be a breath of relief that will lead that country to a promised land. And she truly represented that during her campaign and after she won that election. Okay? But some moons down the line, it appears right now that we're seeing something very different. And that's because she has now come under certain pressure, and we have to unleash her leadership quality, whether positive or negative. And most of the time, leaders like this, who were once popular, they become unpopular because of their policies and decisions, sometimes very hard decisions they take against the people. Turn around to whittle down their influence. And that's exactly what we're seeing here today. It's a commonplace in Africa that leaders who were once popular turn around to become almost like the enemy of the people. And it's not a new thing in the leadership circle of the world. So what is happening there is perhaps one of the repeated paradoxes of leadership that we have seen all over the world. And the Tanzanians, will have to live with it either way, manage the situation and see. If you look at the economic fortune and the prospect, she seems to be doing well economically. That's for those who argue that way. I see it from that angle. But there are so many persons who are saying that she's not doing well economically, politically, or otherwise. But this is their cross, and they have to bear it.
Juror Emeka?
Yeah, for me, it's really a crying shame what has happened in Tanzania. The modern world, postmodern world has actually thrown up identity politics, such that issues like gender mainstreaming, ethnic politics and all of those things, and diversity, equality, and inclusion, inclusivity put on the front banner. And therefore, as a result, we've had elections, based on these parameters. And so there was a president, in that country. I think unfortunately he died, and this woman replaced him. But just like Barrister said, there was this, ray of hope that she represented a sea change, But unfortunately, look at what has happened. Even the United Nations has called for an investigation of the massacre. I think over 700 people dead or so. I mean, just for power. I was surprised the other day when I saw a video of the woman's convoy. Over 100 vehicles. And I said, what has come over this woman? What has come over her? Is it not the same Tanzania of Julius Nyerere, who was fondly called teacher, Mwalimu? What has come over this woman that she cannot get over herself concerning, because she's now in power. So that is the paradox of leadership in Africa. We don't have people, we lack political leaders who, can control themselves, put themselves, like the Bible says, put themselves under subjection. The Holy Bible says that we should bring ourselves under subjection to rulers, to authorities. Now, these people, many of these African politicians think they are the authority. They are the rulers. But they forget one thing, that the law, the constitution of their country is supreme. And therefore, sovereignty derives from the constitution. And so, but too often they think that, oh, I am the law, And who was it? Was it Alexander or so? Who said I'm the law, and the law is me? But that can no longer work in a postmodern world. I would say that the international community should look into this and make sure the woman is brought to justice. She cannot just kill people and trample on dead bodies and just walk away that way. No, 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 no. She should resign and she should be brought to justice. I mean, Tanzanians all over the world who are justifiably disgusted at this development should take up a case at the International Criminal Court with the details, of the victims, so that that woman can be put on trial. She can be declared wanted and put on trial, because it is nothing short of clear, open murder. It is shameful. When will Africa get out of this morass? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. And let's not forget that this particular woman was formerly the vice president, and controversially, the president died, and lots of Tanzanians are pointing to her, allegedly, for being part of those that killed the president. And today, she's actually showing off all that, according to what Tanzanians are saying, what she had going on all the while. But we will take a quick break, and when we return, Juror Emeka Madunagu will be here to present his case titled Insecurity as Deliberate Negligence. Do stay tuned.
Middlemen. Middlemen. Middlemen.
My people, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that. If you want to,
I've done that.
It's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled, and the information you've given them by voting, because you have your mind that, yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and president, Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you.
Middlemen.
My case, insecurity as deliberate negligence. I've had thoughts to travel across different parts of Nigeria over many years due to different reasons. I love traveling by road to feel the pulse of the people. And these days, as a journalist, to get first-hand information about issues affecting different parts of the country. My recent trip took me to Abuja from Lagos by road. I meandered through the area said to be hotbeds of kidnapping in Ekiti, Osun, and Kogi states. When you travel around Nigeria, you wonder how deliberate negligence fuels insecurity. You see roads that are left in a decrepit state by uncaring politicians, while criminals turn such neglected infrastructure into a gold mine. Yes, look at the scale of illegal mining going on across the country. You find so-called bandits cashing out from illegal mining and kidnapping. Why? The roads are they really not fixed? How come that there is no standard link road or railway between Lagos and Abuja? Travelers moving between Lagos and Abuja now avoid Okene in Kogi State. while those connecting Abuja from the southeast of now avoid Benue State. They instead go through Obajano and then Lokoja, which is longer and safer. New tax laws due to take effect in January. The federal government should just hand over the road to state. Give more responsibilities to states and local governments. Increase their allocations and monitor expenditure. And that's my case.
Said Emeka, I
We
think
can't say this enough that lack of infrastructure is really fueling the spikes of insecurity in Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country where you go that I know where roads are broken irretrievably and government officials look the other way. More so because they don't also use these roads. But one would have thought that since they don't use the road and their kinsmen use this road, or the people they represent use this road, it would have been prioritized. It would have been a direct forthright project that they should consider very, very important to fix. But the reverse is the case here. They do not fix these roads. They allow it to go unrepaired for so many years. And when vehicles cannot move in their full potential, their full speed, the criminals will take advantage of the bad spots of the road where the motorists have to slow down to kidnap people, extort money from them, and all that. Not only that the criminals use these spots, the police also use these spots.
Right, this is still the middlemen of jurors, and Barrister Evans was stating to the issues that Emeka had brought forward, and we'll be right back. Please don't go anywhere.
Middleman.
The pantheon of jurors. In the hallowed halls of justice, where echoes of truth intertwine with whispers of despair, there James, a radiant figure sculpted by the universe, with a beauty akin to a stallion galloping through fields of reckoning. Clad in the armor of eloquence, her voice pierces the thick veil of complacency, unraveling cases that cradle the very essence of Nigeria's collective agony. She stands a sentinel over a nation laid bare, beckoning it to rise from the ashes of its own dissolution, crying out for a redemption that dances just beyond reach. Next emerges Evans Ufeli, a sage, with a heart that beats in harmony with the rhythm of justice, an advocate driven by a fervent dream of egalitarian dawn. Each week, he unfolds a scroll of cases bestowed upon him by the wise rabbi, a craft woven with threads of profound thought and searing urgency. His lamentation for the plight of the people rises like a haunting melody, reverberating through a land where self-inflicted wounds twist the tendrils of allegiance into knots of a servitude, traded for nothing more than a pittance, a morsel of bread amidst the hunger of the soul. Then strides forth Emeka Madunagu, a linguistic maestro, armed with knowledge as dense as the forest, each word a carefully sharpened arrow aimed at the heart of injustice. He ventures onto this hallowed platform armed with solutions, a veritable panacea for the ail of his compatriots. Emeka unyielding locks eyes with the elite, unflinching in his resolve as he speaks truth to power with the fervor of a modern-day prophet. He advocates for a class suicide, a radical act of severance from the vines of greed that choke the very life of Nigeria, prescribing this sacrificial rite as the only balm for the nation's festering wounds. Now, We bear witness to innocent Aduluba, a custodian of integrity, where honesty flows like a river untainted. His edges of sacred truth is fortified by the solid foundation of reason, delivering a symphony of clarity that dances gracefully along the social-cultural spectrum. Innocent, an oracle of the common people, channels their pulse, imbibing the essence of their struggles and transforming them into the language of the streets. His enlightenment becomes a lantern, guiding those lost in the shadow, illuminating pathways once obscured as he breathes life into the collective consciousness. Henry Igwebuike stands as a... You're welcome back to the Middlemen of Jurors. And we still have our jurors with us, Barrister Evans Ufeli joining us from Toronto in Canada, and Emeka Madunagu joining us from Abuja. So, Barrister, you were speaking on that particular case, so you can go on.
Yes. I was saying that not only do they leave this road so bad and unkept that criminals cash on it to extort Nigerians, the police also use these bad spots as a spot for extortion. When vehicles slow down, they will stop you. I mean, traveling from Lagos to Delta States, I have done that journey over 5 times this year. And in the course of driving on that road over 5 times this year, I know how many times I've been stopped. Though they won't collect money from me because I will not have, and I will not give them. They assault a lot of motorists I see on the road, especially commercial bus drivers. They take so much from them. And the government is aware of this. The Nigerian government really are very negligent. Very, very negligent. We should take the Nigerian government to the International Court of Justice for crime against humanity. We have been so wronged in that country. We have been so dehumanized in that country. That is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that being born in Nigeria is almost like a hard labor. You are born into hard labor, all kinds of wrong, all kinds of human rights violations. And this is also the least most unfortunate.
Very so sad. And speaking to that particular case of negligence, just yesterday, a 47-seater bus plunged on a gully. Yesterday, about 33 people died instantly, with many feared injured at the same time. And this brings our attention to what priority is there for those in power. While they concentrate on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, there are lots of network roads that need attention seriously. And those in power pretend not to see some of these things. And just like you rightly said, they do that because they often do not use such roads. They make good use of, air traffic and all. But of course, our roads, they don't want to get into it because they don't use them. But this brings our thoughts to leadership and governance in Nigeria. Just this morning, the Senate approved 1.15 trillion for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu domestically. And remember, he just said that we had met targets for this year and would not borrow again. And yet, we have approved 1.15 trillion naira. And the question again is, where are we channeling all of this money to? That's a big rhetoric question that every one of us need to answer, but we do not have the answers to even give, to even protect the image of those who serve us. It's so quite unfortunate that we are living at a time like this. Traveling right now across Nigeria is an ugly sport that no one loves to, get himself into. And you can see the cost of flights right now from Lagos to Abuja is well off 200,000 to 300,000 naira. And the reason is because everyone wants to go through that route because road travel is risky, is dangerous, and you don't expect, to see anything good coming out of it because of the insecurity, moving on and across the country. Well, we will take a quick break, and when we return, Juror Evans Ufeli will be here to present his case titled Nigerians and Their Captors. Do stay tuned.
You know the interesting thing? You hear them talking now.
Middlemen.
Watchdog, a vigilant watcher of the tempest that permeates the fabric of Nigeria, a land once resplendent with the vibrancy of hope, now adrift in the murky waters of uncertainty. With a heart heavy, yet buoyed by fate, he ponders the fate of this great vessel, once sailed by the spirits of unity and promise, now battered by the storms of discord and strife. What port shall it find amidst the turmoil? Where does the compass of its destiny truly point? As waves of cynicism crash against its hull, as the sirens of turmoil sing lullabies of disillusion. In this pantheon of jurors, each voice rings out a chorus, weaving the fabric of a new Nigeria. Sit, relax, and enjoy the show.
Middlemen. Middlemen.
Welcome back to the Middlemen of Jurors. My case, Nigerians and Their Captors. Nigerians, with their love for their oppressors, vilify a soldier who respectfully turned back off their captor on his mission to act treacherously. Talking about Wike. You all forgot that a retired chief of naval staff is entitled to military detail, and that these officers were there on duty. Duty under military command is absolute. You must protect and guard everything. Aside from military command, these Gen Zs you see are not one of you that live with oppression. We fought, these Gen Zs, they are rebellion all the time, but their non-compliance to repression or oppression is a treasure they carry. They cannot be wiped into line. They are not high on respect either. They are the required accident of disruption that the Nigerian country requires at this time. My verdict, you must all live with your captors and the new generation, the monsters you all created. I shall go to Rabbi again.
Emeka? All right, so speaking to the issue of Nigerians and their captors, especially with reference to the altercation between Nyesom Wike FCT minister and the young military officer, it's actually hilarious, at the same time sad, that this happened, and Nigerians are now there to watch and making memes out of all the things that have happened. Now, lots of people have different vantage point explanation and analysis to what happened, but to a large extent, lots of people have blamed FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The last we learned, it was stated that the CDS had told him before now that they were going to intervene and ensure they get into the root of the issue. But Nyesom Wike insisted on still going to the site. And remember, when he did that, what happened at the end wasn't what he expected. And I think this is an opportunity for those above Nyesom Wike to call him to order. We understand that he is the FCT minister, yes. We equally know that he is not elected. He is appointed as the FCT minister, which means the constitution does not protect him. Though I would like a barrister to explain more on that, when someone is appointed versus when one is elected, who is more powerful at this particular point. But what Nigerians are saying is that for the fact that he was appointed as the FCT minister, it is his responsibility to ensure that things work well within the corridor of the FCT, but allowing his emotion and his persona, to trend, beyond what has been given him is a call for concern. The military institution, of course, have backed their officer, saying that he is legally doing that particular job, and they would only punish an officer who has gone off duty. And therefore, that young man was at the right place at the right time, and therefore was doing a constitutionally stated responsibility and would not face any sort of punishment. The former chief of staff, Burantai, equally reprimanded Nyesom Wike. Hello. Of course, there's a banter now between Nyesom Wike and Burantai on that particular case. But of course, we do not know how this will end up. Nyesom Wike is someone that does not give up. But how much of that might does Nyesom Wike wield to maybe bring down a military institution like our Nigerian army? That is a big question that we do not know who would answer. Emeka, are you there? Yeah, so, barrister, you can pick up if you may.
Are you able to confirm if you received it?
Yeah. On the issue of appointment and elected persons in government, I think that a man that is elected have mandates, so he has much more overriding influence and power under the law than the person who is appointed, who represents the president. Okay, so in my estimation, I have thought that Nyesom Wike will act reasonably and maturely as an honorable member, as they call them, even though they are not honorable. But he failed to do that. He threw caution to the wind, believing that he can intimidate anybody and everybody as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And to itself, it's difficult to put things together in that manner.
What you're trying to say?
And I find it rather not a good sight, the way he has gone about this. And it's for the person who employed him to call him to caution and to let him know that his responsibility under the law is not to intimidate or to force people into submission.
You are not Mr.
But I'll call you back. So the issues.
You can call me back. You can call our office and speak to.
Emeka, are you there? All right, so just like, Barrister was talking about, elected and appointed, those who are elected are given the mandate, constitutional mandate to protect what has been given to them as a responsibility. But those who are appointed, of course, still need to go under the umbrella of those that have given them the opportunity, of course, which is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Though the special advisor, senior special advisor to Nyesom Wike, is speaking to the fact that that particular land is a scam, that the military officer that bought that land, was defrauded of that particular land because the piece of land on that reference was not supposed to have anything built on it. It was supposed to be a recreational space, a green area. But the the company that bought it, the real estate company that bought it, bought it with the understanding that it was supposed to be a greenery, but it has been converted to to a low-cost housing and sold. Yes, Barrister, you're speaking to that particular issue.
Yeah, even if the purpose has been turned around, Wike is known and notorious to have been revoking people's land in the whole of the FCT, and the complaints have been too much. Under the Land Use Act, you cannot revoke land A and give it to land B. You cannot revoke land A and then give it to B. It's not allowed under the law. If you must revoke a land, you only can revoke it on the basis of overriding public interests. Maybe the government wants to build a stadium, the government wants to build a hospital, the government wants to build something of public interest that is overriding. And that's the only ground upon which you can revoke a land. And such revocation must also come with compensation. That's what the law says. But Wike has abandoned the law, throw caution to the wind. He's acting outside the law and he's doing things as if we're in a jungle. And so it's not acceptable. One man, Minister of the FCT, does not mean you can override everybody, throw caution to the wind, and then make life unbearable. I'm happy that the soldier really stood his ground, because he had thought that the person he was talking to was Fubara. That when you say, hey, you run into a hole and the rest of that. And the guy stood his ground, and the guy put to them have integrity, because he knew that where Wike is coming from, integrity is a scarce resource. He knows. And he told him that to his face. He said, you are fool. He said, I'm not a fool. Then he jumped into, before you were born, when I finished university, you were in primary school and the rest of that. That is that old man's way of intimidating younger people in our country, where people will say that, you know who I am. You know, before you got here, I got there, before you did that. And these are making references to material acquisition, things that have no eternal value. And so people do that a lot, want to prove, want to act pompous, want to show that they are something that are nothing. So it is just the case, and I think he has learned his lesson in a way. At least someone has stood against him, even though the president cannot tame him. Some persons, like soldiers, will tame him, because military command is not what you joke with. I grew up in the barrack, and I have considerable knowledge of when we say we are acting under an order. We're acting under order, and it's absolute. You must protect and guard everything on site. That's what it is. So for those saying that military is not supposed to guard land and the rest of that, I don't agree with them, because though they don't have any military background, they're just talking up there. They are not guarding the land. They are guarding the retired, Navy general. Okay, and so when you are detailed to follow a VIP, you must ensure that everything that belongs to him, including his life and properties, must be protected. That cannot be translated to mean they were there guarding land, and it's not their responsibility under democracy. I hear that talk. I see the shallowness in it and the lack of experience that comes from such kind of pronouncement.
Thank you so very much. Emeka?
It's sad the way it's sad the way. Yeah, it's sad the way people, the kinds of things I've been reading online about that incident. It only shows how funny they are. When things don't flow the way we want, or sometimes you will be surprised that some of those comments are actually from paid agents,
even from educated people, people.
Yeah, no, of course, everybody, there's hunger. The common denominator in Nigeria is hunger. The rich are hungry, the poor are hungry. Everybody is hungry. So you'll be surprised that you see people parading SUVs. They are hungry. And go to events when it's time to share food. You'll be surprised. I've been to a function, 70th birthday of a prominent Nigerian, and there were big men and women. We gave them a chance to go ahead. By the time it was our turn, there was no food. So the thing is that the common denominator in Nigeria is we are all in a rat race. So it is easy for those who have access to public resources to buy the conscience and reasoning of people. So you'll be surprised that it's not about, that they're educated or what. It's just about hunger being a common denominator. And then, people have no compunction, defending things that are meaningless. I mean, I saw what somebody put on Facebook today saying that a sub-lieutenant turned himself into a security man. I said, what do you mean by that? What exactly are you talking about? The guy was deployed there, he was deployed in that site, by his superiors. So was he supposed to now dictate to them how he would act on that site? I mean, when the minister got there, by the way, under the Land Use Act, the Land Use Act does not empower. It says that land in a state is vested in the government. Now, in this case, it's the FCT minister. Now, I don't see anywhere, maybe Paris can educate us, I don't see anywhere it says that the governor or the FCT, without a court order, I don't see. So what really, took him to that place? Because he has been doing it. He has been barging into people's sites and all that. And you just wonder, I know some governors have done the same thing, but is it proper? Is it lawful? And so the interesting thing is that, now power met power. And I learned that there was something, although I've not seen it, I learned that there was a part of the video where a policeman said something, maybe from the north, said something to another security personnel from the north, said something to him in Hausa that let's quickly handle the situation well before it gets out of hand. I've not seen it, but if it is true, then just imagine what could have happened there. Just imagine what could have happened there. And so, you could even, if you remember again what the IG was wanted to have said that, people in authority should not misuse those below them, misuse their security men. So if anything had happened, of course, those policemen and DSS would have been on their own. You've already seen what the military has said. They stood by one of their own. So that tells us from an era of brutal military, we didn't go and sell a monkey and buy a dog, because both of them are four-legged animals, So they should stop this autocratic behavior. They should control themselves, respect themselves. Don't try to exert your authority on people because you could get embarrassed. You might just run into somebody who has enough muscle, either politically or one way or the other, to call your bluff. Yes, and even embarrass you. I remember the MD of one agency in Lagos, one MD in Lagos, some years ago, he went to a site, which was under the authority of his agency, and he was shot dead there. What happened? I've not heard anything that people were arrested or prosecuted, for his killing. And so people should be careful. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. And I have a rhetorical question, but you all might help me. Does that mean that we would begin to employ military officers to help protect us? I just learned that in the demolished places in Oworoshoki, the only standing building there was not demolished because it was guarded by a military officer. So the question is, how many Nigerians would have to, seek the help of the military to help them, protect their properties against authoritarian and dictatorial people today in power?
What that tells you is that authoritarianism answers to authoritarianism. That building now standing in that Oworoshoki now belongs to a strong-headed fellow that is as strong-headed as the governor who is deploying people to pull down building. So violence answering to violence, that's what you are seeing there. And if the persons in that Orochoki had gone to pull soldiers, assuming they're going to pull soldiers from a barrack and put no building will be demolished. That's why Nigeria is a jungle. It's not a law-abiding place. So if you have military, you have that link. Since we have suspended the constitution by our character, and we have suspended the Land Use Act by our greed, let people go and pull military from the barrack and surround wherever their communities are to prevent a sick-headed governor from coming to demolish properties for which those properties, the same governor or a previous governor signed the C of O. And many of those persons whose property have been destroyed hold a C of O issued by a governor of that state, and successive governors are acting otherwise. Even in the face of a court order, or when matters are pending in court, least pendings, governors are still giving orders, asking that buildings be pulled down. You understand? So there is no law in Nigeria. There is no law. Little wonder you see that those who are thriving in Nigeria are non-state actors. Non-state actors. They are the ones thriving now. Any country where you have non-state actors holding sway, the kind of very dark man, what do you call it? The one that used to support terrorists, and all the rest of the non-state actors. The one that used to be NUTW chairman.
Okay.
That supports the president and the rest of that.
Asari, yes.
Asari Dokubo and the one from Bayelsa, that gave 100 million naira now to that.
Tompolo.
Saturday, Tompolo, Opolo. Yes, these are the people that thrive. And look at any country where non-state actors thrive. The country have unwittingly, by its character and components, suspended the constitution. So what you now have is might. If you have influence, if you have large social media following, you can actually shut down any road or shut down any whatever it is. You can do that. Government will either come to beg you or to support you or to give you money to stay with. The likes of Erufai, that went to bring insurgents from all over the sub-Saharan Africa to come and fight against Jonathan if he refused to relinquish power. That's common acts, including Buhari himself, who sent him, and the rest of them. That common act is what we are suffering today. Nobody's probing the root and the source of that problem. That it was as a result of this that when Jonathan now relinquished power to them, they were surprised. Even Buhari said it, that he was surprised that Jonathan would relinquish power just like that. And so he was surprised. So the people, the monsters they brought into the country, they became a Frankenstein. All of them gathered, became an albatross because they were also abandoned. And now they are giving us the run for our lives. And those who brought them in are sneaking away from the country. Europa just sneaked away from the country into Dubai. Buhari himself take a leave through debt. And left the country. And the host of others are leaving the country, have left the country to Turkey because of the threat of the United States. So you see, when you kill a country, well, that country is dead as far as I'm concerned. When you push a country to the point where you kill the soul of the country, you start to see what is happening today, happening there. Killings are still ongoing as we speak.